Okay, we are doing a two-part series on the 8 things I would be doing if I wanted to get pregnant in 2026. I personally do not. This is not me telling you that I'm like preparing for pregnancy, but I know a lot of you are either preparing to start trying in 2026 or you are like you have been actively trying and you want this year to be the year that you actually do get pregnant. And so I'm going to be sharing two-part series, 8 things total, 4 in this episode, 4 will be in the next episode of the things that I would really be prioritizing if I was like, okay, I want to get pregnant again. This is exactly what I would be doing. And obviously what I would recommend for anybody to do as well. Okay. So let's just dive right into it. Actually, before I do that, in the show notes, I'm going to put a link and it is a type form and you could submit any questions that you have that you want me to answer on the show. I love hearing from you. I love getting your questions. I want to see what you are wondering, what topics you want me to talk about, whatever. And you could put like as long of a, description as you want so that I can, get as many details. So that will be linked below if you want me to answer a specific question for you on the podcast. Okay. So, part one, here we go. The first thing, and this is not really in a specific order, this is just like how it brain dumped out of my head. Number one is getting your partner on board. I will talk about this till the cows come home. I don't even understand that saying, but here we are. This is so important. And this doesn't mean that you can't do anything to support your fertility if your partner isn't on board, right? Because I work with clients every single day. Some of their partners are like, yes, let's go. I'm in. Let's do it. Some of them are not as interested. That does not mean that you can't do anything to support yourself in getting pregnant and that you can't still make changes. If your partner is not willing to get on board, first of all, I'm going to explain to you why it's so important he does. You could share, if you have a male-female relationship, so you could share this information with him and tell him to get the fuck over whatever his issues are and do what needs to be done. But if he's like stubborn or whatever, you make the changes yourself and you lead as an example, right? You lead the way. You be the example of how, yes, of course, it's going to support your fertility, but also how it actually just helps you feel better in your day-to-day life. And he'll notice that you have more energy, that your moods are more stable, that you're feeling better, you're more regulated. And he's going to be like, ooh, maybe I should try doing some of that stuff, right? Because if it's coming from a forceful place, we've all been there. Oh, we've all been there. And it doesn't work, okay? So you got to have another strategy for it, okay? But regardless, the importance of this is because it takes two to fucking tango, okay? And 40 to 50% of fertility issues is male factor related, which means 40 to 50% of the time, fertility struggles are male related or part of the reason is because of the male, right? It's the female as well, but also the male. So not only does like sperm quality affect your ability of getting pregnant, it's also been linked to miscarriages and it changes the genetic makeup of your future child. So it's really fucking important. We, of course, like when you cognitively think about it, you're like, oh yeah, obviously, like his sperm's going in there. Like he obviously has something to do with it as well. But the focus is so much on the woman because we're the ones that are obviously doing the majority of the work and they're doing the hard work of it, right? No offense to men, but you fucking don't do any of the hard work, okay? You you ejaculate in us and then you're fucking done, okay? Obviously you support in other ways with like helping, hopefully doing like massages or whatever and like doing all the other stuff like that is the men's role for pregnancy and postpartum and raising the kids and all that stuff. But like as far as the baby growing, like you don't do all that hard work. So the focus is on the woman because the woman is the one that's actually carrying the child, growing the child, birthing the child. But to get to that point, the man needs to be on board. And this used to not be as big of an issue as it is today, but the sperm quality, like the levels that sperm is at now, I don't know the exact study, but Lisa Hendrickson Jack talks about this in her new book. Well, it's not new anymore, but her newest book, unless she wrote another one recently, I didn't know about it. But about how much drastically lower the numbers are today of sperm quality than 50 100 years ago, and that is directly correlated to the lifestyle changes and the way our life is different now, the chemicals that we're in contact with that we used to not be in contact with, the level of stress and all of this, mostly the chemicals and all that stuff that just never used to be part of the equation, and it is now. So whether your partner got a sperm test, a sperm analysis done, and it came back normal, optimal, low, or not, they didn't even get tested, he needs to still be doing things to support his sperm regardless, because it needs to be optimized. Just like you're putting in the work to optimize your fertility, he does too. So bare ass minimum, obviously he needs to be taking some type of supplementation. And I'll put the link below in the Mind Your Hormones method and in the supplement masterclass that's within the Mind Your Hormones method. There's a whole protocol for men on top of obviously a fertility protocol for women, protocol for pregnancy per trimester, for postpartum, for PCOS, endometriosis, like literally for everything. For overseas, like if you need specific brands, if you're overseas, I have everything in there. You can get the supplement masterclass on its own, or you could get it within the Mind Your Hormones method. So we'll link both below. But I also have in my Shop My just links of the top 3 that I recommend for men, which is the Needed Men's Multi, the Needed Men's Sperm Support, and I also recommend the probiotic for men, like Just Thrive probiotic for men. The Gut Personal Magnesium is also really helpful for men. But bare ass minimum, he needs to be on the multi, the sperm support, a probiotic, an omega is also really helpful. Again, there's a whole protocol there, but I'll put the link for the Shop My ones below. But he needs to be taking those bare ass minimum, okay? Because that is going to, sperm quality can change 90 to 120 days. So especially if you're in the realm of listening to this, of like preparing for pregnancy, have him get on that shit now so that if it is low, it has time to change. Or if it's normal, it has time to get optimal, right? We don't want to just be like, okay, we're okay. Like we're at the bare minimum levels. Like, no, we want things to be optimal, which is why I also have a podcast episode on the optimal numbers to look for sperm. So make sure you go listen to that, because if he did get a sperm analysis and everything came back normal, there it's likely still low. So go listen to that episode. And then I'm going to also link below, I think it's episode number 360 or 365. It's one of those, we'll link it below, of 3 things I recommend men do to help support their sperm in general. So you can go listen to that, okay? Because I'm not going to go into that in this one. We have a whole separate episode on it. But just the part 1 is like getting your man on board, have him understand how he impacts you getting pregnant, you having a healthy pregnancy, and the genetic makeup of your child. So taking some supplements, obviously making other lifestyle and nutrition changes I talk about in that other episode that we'll link below is really, really, really important. So that is the number 1 thing. Again, it's not in any specific order, but that's really, really fucking important. Okay, so that's number 1. I need to stop and take a drink of water. If you have water nearby, take a sip with me. Okay. The next one, and by the way, I'm on my walking pad, so I'm like a little out of breath. Here we go. The next one is tracking your fertility biomarkers. So most people, and if you're doing this, I'm calling you out, but I'm lovingly calling you out because I don't want you to waste your time with this bullshit, okay? Most people are peeing on LH strips and are, using their app of like, okay, this is when you ovulated and this is how you're tracking it. And that's not the vibe, okay? That's a waste of your time. Most people who are doing that are likely not even having sex at the right time to get pregnant. Obviously, in order to get pregnant, you have to be having sex when you're fertile. Duh, right? Like, you're like, okay, Corinne, obviously. But you're only fertile 5 to 6 days out of each month. So in order to find that window, you have to know your fertility biomarkers and how to properly track them and read them. And the 2 fertility biomarkers I'm talking about is your basal body temperature and your cervical mucus. Knowing how to properly track that is essential for you having sex at the right time to get pregnant. Not peeing on an LH strip and OPKs, that is not going to do it, especially if you have PCOS. Your LH levels could be fluctuating throughout the month and increasing and then going down, increasing and then going down. So you're going to be totally missing when you're actually fertile. A lot of people who are using OPKs are missing out on quality fertile days because you're waiting for that LH peak, and sometimes it doesn't happen till that day right before you ovulate. And at that point, you only have about 24 hours left to have sex during your fertile window. You're fertile for the 5 days before you ovulate and then the 24 hours after. So using these LH strips, you could be fertile for 4 days and you didn't get a positive LH strip. So you're like, all right, well, not fertile yet. And you're missing these days. So when you track your cervical mucus and you have sex, when you see that raw egg white consistency cervical mucus, that is going to increase your chances of actually getting pregnant, because your body knows when you're going to ovulate. Your body increases its estrogen to ovulate and to produce cervical mucus, because cervical mucus is required for you to get pregnant. Can't get pregnant without it. Sperm cannot survive inside of you without cervical mucus. It's what takes the sperm to the egg. It filters out abnormal sperm. Like, you absolutely need it. So focusing on tracking that, having sex every other day after you see that raw egg white consistency cervical mucus, and then tracking your basal body temperature to actually confirm that you ovulated and know when your window closes. Most people are, again, doing the LH shifts, but also just having sex every day after their period. And that is fucking exhausting, especially if you're trying for baby number 2, or if you've been trying for a while. You're like, yeah, like, obviously I like having sex, but like every day, like, I'm good. I'm all set on having sex every day. Again, especially if you already have a child, I don't even see how that's possible. So then you're going to feel like you're not doing enough, you're missing it, You do not need to have sex every single day after your period. That is the worst advice ever, okay? I have so many podcast episodes on cervical mucus patterns, on basal body temperature. I'm going to link the one below on really how to properly track your basal body temperature and your cervical mucus, because using an Oura ring, I also highly don't recommend. And then just looking at your app, that's like, oh, this is when like you're ovulating. No, you have to actually be taking your basal body temperature. I personally recommend Temp Drop. That's my number one, because it's an armband you wear overnight. It takes out the variabilities of needing to have sound sleep the entire night, needing to wake up at the same time every morning, the changes in your body temperature that can happen. So I love it for the consistency of it and the accuracy of it, especially for those of us who don't sleep soundly throughout the night, who don't wake up at the same time every morning. It takes all those variabilities out of it. Whereas the under the tongue thermometer, you need that consistency of sleeping throughout the night, waking up every morning at the same time, all of that. So Temp Drop's my favorite. I'll put the link below with our discount code so that you can check that out if you want to do that. But that's number 2, track your fertility biomarkers. And I'll also put the other episode below of how to properly learn how to do this, because I want you to know how to read your chart even when you are using Temp Drop, and not just go by what it says when you ovulate. You need to look at it too, because a computer is a computer. We have to know what to actually look for in our numbers. I'm always, whenever I work with clients, whether it's in 4 weeks of boosted fertility or the Trying to Conceive Accelerator, I'm looking at their basal body temperature charting, and I'm explaining it to them. Like, okay, this is when you ovulate. Okay, your Temp Drop or whatever said it was this day. It's actually this day, because, and this is why. This is what you need to look for. This is when you have to see the 0.3 to 0.5 degree increase and say hi. I explain it all in the other episode, so go listen to it. But you have to know how to do that. We have to be body literate. Instead of learning this shit in school, we learned about rocks and Pythagorean theorem and shit that we are literally never using. So we have to teach ourselves this information. So instead of knowing about our fertility biomarkers and how to actually be body literate, we learned about, fucking sedentary, what are the other forms? Again, I don't even remember. Fucking rocks that for a whole year in like 9th grade, which is so ridiculous. Anyway, that's the second thing, okay? Don't get me on that soapbox. The third thing is a high quality prenatal, at least a prenatal, right? You of course need more than just a prenatal. Again, the full protocol that I recommend are in the supplement masterclass. That is part of the Mind Your Hormones method, but you can get it separate. But a high quality prenatal is essential. You already know this. I talk about this all the time, but it is so important. And there are a lot out there that are not actually optimal. Okay. My number 1 is needed. That's my top recommendation always. The other 2 that I do like and would be like, okay, that's a good one, is Gut Personal and Full Well. Those are my 3 recommendations. I will link those below. It's so important for you to be getting not only an abundant amount of nutrients so that because your fertility, like our ovulation and stuff, it's not vital to our survival. So if you have nutrient deficiencies, which is a root cause of fertility issues, which if you are not taking a high quality multi-year prenatal, you are nutrient deficient, period. Because stress depletes us of nutrients. Our soil is depleted of nutrients. No one is eating perfectly. It is impossible to get every single thing you need from food alone, even if you do eat perfectly. So you're nutrient deficient if you're not taking high quality prenatal or multivitamin, period. So, and because our fertility and our reproductive system in general is not vital to our survival, when we are nutrient deficient, our body is not going to allocate the nutrients to our reproductive system. That's last on the list, one of the last on the list. It's like, no, we need to use whatever nutrients we're getting for her brain, for her heart, for her lungs, for keeping her alive, right? Keeping things moving along. The other stuff are extra things: hair, nails, your cycle, your ovulation, your reproductive system. All of that is secondary. It's like when I have an abundant amount of nutrients, when I have plenty to go around to everywhere, then I'll allocate it to those areas. So that's why we need so many nutrients, so that our reproductive system can actually be allocated for and supported. And obviously nice hair, skin, nails, all that stuff too, because who doesn't want that? So that's one reason. And also, we have to make sure that the nutrients that we are intaking are actually forms our body can absorb. They're not in forms that your body can't absorb, which a lot of them are in. So if you take a quick look at your prenatal, if you have folic acid instead of folate, most of the population is not going to be able to absorb that. You need to have folate, which is a more absorbable form than folic acid. If you look at it and you have like magnesium citrate in there, you want magnesium bisglycinate. Citrate is not as well absorbed in the body. Looking at things like that of what forms they're actually in for absorbability is really important. I have other podcast episodes too on like other things to look out for in your prenatal that we can link below too. But those are just like some quick ones. And obviously I'll put the links to the 3 prenatals I talked about and any codes we have in the show notes as well. I have all this stuff linked in my ShopMy, so you could go check all that out. But highly recommend that. And again, I do recommend other supplements. You can get the supplement masterclass for that. Okay. So that's number 3. Now, the 4th thing, if you've been here for a hot second, you've heard me talk about this, but I would 100% not be having caffeine first thing in the morning or skipping meals. These are basic things that are just like ingrained in us to do wrong, right? It's just like part of society. Wake up and have a cup of coffee. I used to be that person. Like a decade ago. It's been a long time now, but I would wake up, I'd have my Folgers, mold, pesticide, and herbicide filled coffee that I had no idea was loaded with that shit, with my Delight. Was it called Delight? French Delight? Fresh Delight? Something Delight, whatever, or like Coffee Mate, whatever. I think it was something Delight. It was like my French vanilla creamer, or I would do, what's the other one that I liked? Sometimes I get a different flavor, not French vanilla. Can't remember, whatever. Load that shit right up, have a huge mug of it first thing in the morning, and have it again in the afternoon. It's just wired in us to do this. It's also wired to just skip meals. Like, especially if like, I want to lose weight, so I'm just like not going to have a meal. Or I'm just going to go 5+ hours because I don't have time to eat. That is like one of the quickest ways to negatively impact your fertility. It's also one of the quickest ways to get headaches, to have low energy, to have unstable moods, to have brain fog, to also mess up your actual ability to have a good metabolism and maintain a healthy weight, to fuck up your cycles, your fertility, all of it. So what I want you to do instead is first thing in the morning, I want you to have a nice big water bottle, like filtered water, fill up your like a Walla or whatever you're using, Stanley, Yeti, whatever. Water bottle of filtered water with an electrolyte in it first thing in the morning. My favorites are Minerals and Chill from Live Healthily and Instant Hydration. Those are my top 2. Have that first thing in the morning, have some warm lemon water after it, then have your PFF breakfast. Protein, fiber, healthy fat breakfast. First, within 60 to 90 minutes of waking up. That is what I want you to do. And I do not want you to go more, there's no 5 hours between meals. There's no skipping meals, okay? You are having consistent meals or snacks throughout the day, maybe 4 hours between meals. Again, it depends on what phase of your cycle you're in. It depends on how much activity you did that day. When I audit, my clients' food journals in 4 weeks to boost fertility and in the accelerator, I'm easily able to see like, okay, you need to shift this here. You're good in this phase to go this long. Like I'll know a little bit more specifically, but as a general rule of thumb, like 3.5 to 4.5 max, more like 3.5 to 4 hours in between meals. Sometimes it could be 3 hours max, depending on your blood sugar stability and what you ate before and all of that stuff. But that's what you want to be focusing on. I have a totally free training called How to Create Hormone and Blood Sugar Balanced Meals that goes into the PFF combination I just talked about, the protein, fiber, healthy fat. Completely free. I pulled it from the Mind Your Hormones method, so you can access that. But blood sugar regulation in general is what I would be focusing on. Like, that is just a no-brainer. It is so important. It's the first and most important step when it comes to improving your fertility, your moods, your energy, getting rid of brain fog, your headaches, all of that. It is so, so, so important. So that is what I would be focusing on. That, of course, we have a whole module of that in the Mind Your Hormones method. And then I have a separate program too. If you're like, you don't want the whole Mind Your Hormones method, you don't want the entire roadmap, you just kind of want an entry point. That's where my program Balance Your Blood Sugar comes in, where we really go deep on blood sugar regulation. I've helped hundreds of women through that program get pregnant after trying for years, all the things. Same with the Mind Your Hormones method. You already know the vibe. That's what I would do. Like, obviously we're going through these 8 things, but what I really would do if I was like in this situation of trying to conceive for a while or preparing my body, I would literally get into the Mind Your Hormones method. Like, I'm not just saying that because I created it. I truly would do that. And this is why I created it, so that you have a plan in front of you of exactly what the most important steps are to take to improve your fertility with simple things that you're doing in your diet and your lifestyle and your supplementation. It's not complicated. It doesn't have to be hard, especially when you have a plan in front of you. What makes it hard is piecing all these different things together from podcasts and from posts and from almost, it's like, that's what makes it hard. And hearing all the noise and everybody is talking about different things you could do. What's good, what's bad. It's like, we need to just break it down to the science, the human body, what actually connected to your fertility, what matters, what doesn't, strip it all down, take all the bullshit out of it, follow this, and that's what's going to help you. That's truly what I would do, whether I'm preparing for IVF, natural pregnancy, wanting to prepare for pregnancy, actively trying, like, I would get in the Mind Your Hormones method. You could use code podcast for 10% off. That would be what I would do. But also these other 4 things, obviously, is helpful as well. But if you just want like the roadmap right in front of you, get inside the Mind Your Hormones method. Okay, that was part 1. Those first 4 things: getting your partner on board, number 1. Number 2, tracking your fertility biomarkers. Number 3, high quality prenatal. Number 4, no caffeine first thing in the morning and no skipping meals. Everything we talked about is going to be linked in the show notes. Stay tuned for part 2 for the other 4 things I'd be focusing on. And 2026, we're coming for you. We are coming. This is going to be a year. It's going to be a year. We don't know what it's going to bring, but we know that we're going to be full-assing it. We know that we're going to be optimizing our health. And we know that we're going to be prepared for whatever comes our way. So that's what I'm going to say about it. Okay, I love you, and I'll see you in part 2.
Thank you so much for being here. If you loved this episode and learned something valuable, please share it with a friend who you think would also love it, or post it on social media and tag me so I could personally say thank you for helping me spread this important message. I am beyond grateful to be here with you. So until next time, stay intentional, stay consistent, and always mind your hormones.